Bet you're wondering why you should listen to the random shirtless jit on the internet with a camera. Well, let me tell you my story. See, I've grown up in a household where a lot of expectations were pushed onto me. Like, I was expected to be this kind of person, and if I didn't do these things, I was this kind of person. Like, whenever I made a mistake at school, or whenever I got the bad grades, or if I didn't do things as my parents expected me to do, I was stupid, I was selfish. I was an idiot. I was dumb. I couldn't do the things that everyone else could do because I got something wrong. The expectations put on me were that I was going to go down this path. I was going to become an engineer, or I was going to become a lawyer, or I was going to become an economist, or whatever. It was to be for me to go down these paths. And I never really liked that those expectations were set of me, because I never wanted to go down those paths. I know it seems like the child thing where it's like, oh, I want to be a footballer, I want to do this, or I want to do that. But it's just, ever since childhood, I never had the idea where I'm going to do the regular thing that people usually do. And I know that sounds so cliche because everyone can say that. Oh, ever since childhood, I wanted to be successful, so that's why I want to be successful now. It's just been weird for me because ever since I was a kid and it was like, what career do you want? It's always been like, oh, I wanted to be a footballer, or I wanted to be the astronaut was the biggest one for me, because I was really interested in space, and I never really wanted to become a scientist or biologist. I wanted to do something practical and creative, and that's why going to space and being an astronaut really stuck out to me. Obviously I haven't done that, obviously I'm not a fucking astronaut, but it's the idea that I had this idea of what I want to do, and where I want to go down, that was cut out, that path was blocked off by my parents and by everyone else around me, because everyone was going to university and doing these STEM subjects as their degrees and going to uni to become these really basic careers. I also remember having this one conversation with my dad about maybe I should take a gap year, maybe I should try to pursue something, experience things. And they always had some friction against it because everyone else was going to university. We have our own, so as Indians, or like as Asians, everyone has this kind of friend group, like just everyone that you know in the area who is like you. And now we have this friend group who, like, we've moved around a lot together. And every child, generations come like years above or years below, the plans are for them to go to university, and the plans have been that they've gone to university. So when I come up saying, I don't really want to go to university, that gets blocked off and shut down because everyone else has gone to university. Everyone else has followed down that path. So when I come up saying I don't want to go down that path, it's a shock to my parents because they don't know what else there is to pursue. There's nothing else to go down other than university, because university has been proven to get you where you want to be, have a stable career. And then that's also what everyone's been doing. So that you have those societal expectations where if I don't go, then it looks bad on them because everyone else's kids have went. So I had these expectations, these identities that were put down onto me that made me believe I was this kind of person, even though deep down, authentically, I had these sort of beliefs where I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something practical. But I wasn't able to pursue those things because I had this identity put on top of me. And then it got to a point where I wanted to change. I couldn't deal with this situation of, you're this kind of person, you have to stay this kind of person anymore. And this happens everywhere. This happens everywhere in your life. It happens in school, it happens in work, it happens at home. But the way that you can stop that from happening is starting change. And not many people do change, which is why a lot of people are so stuck back by it and struck with like astonished what? Bamboozled or discombobulated by it. Because no one does change. I'm not going to waste your time more than I have to, other than now. I'm going to just waste a little bit. My name's Vanch to anyone new, and I upload 2 self-improvement advice videos a day with practical things that you can apply into your own life to help some mindset shifts, or just things that you can do to help you, give yourself some clarity and get more work done. So click on subscribe and the post notifications so you can see more videos like this, and your YouTube homepage will be scattered with more self-improvement videos, and then you also get like a little notification on your phone whenever I upload. So do that, click on subscribe and the post notification. It's a win-win for the both of us. The first way to change is a somewhat difficult one, but it requires this 360 in a mindset shift that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to really think about this one. You have to kill your old self. And I know that sounds so, what's the word? So mortgage, death, I don't know. It sounds really bad. But essentially, you have this identity put on top of you. You don't really like this identity of yourself. You have these certain things reinforced of who you have to be. You have to strip away that entire person and create a new version of yourself. Now, the way I like to look at it is that you're going to push that entire personality of you away. And now this new version of you is going to look at that personality of you from the third perspective. So imagine now, you are a blank slate of an individual. You are nothing. Now you're going to look at who you were, maybe in the last 5 minutes, or who you have been for the last few years. And you're going to look at that person from the third person perspective and think, what are the things that they're doing that's holding me back? What are the things that they're doing that I don't want to do, that I want to change? And it's much easier to look at them from the third perspective than it is to look at yourself. So when you look at it from the third perspective, you think, okay, they're doing these things, they're thinking these things, and it's holding me back. It's stopping me pursuing these certain things. Then you figure out what those things are. It's like, okay, he is jacking off too much, or he is scrolling on his phone too much, or he is believing what these people are saying, or he's accepting these sort of reinforcements about him. I'm not going to do those things now. I'm going to do the opposite thing to what that person was doing. I'm going to go down a better path. And that's how you start creating a new identity of yourself, because a blank slate, and the thing is with a blank slate, right, when you start from zero, it can be really relieving for a lot of people like you. Think about it, you have all of this negative put on top of yourself. If you've been on this self-improvement journey for a while, you've been seeing these things where it's like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to get good at this, you have to get good at this. And then with all the bad things you have on top, you think, oh, I can't do that. There's so many bad things about me. I have to take all that. Start from zero. Blank slate that shit. Take it, iron it all out. You can start again. And that's relieving. Because it doesn't mean you have to cut down on everything. It's stop. Blank slate, build yourself from the bottom up again. You can cut off all those negatives and start building those positives. The second part of change is changing your identity. And no, I don't mean turning fucking trans or changing into pansexual or some shit. No. I mean changing the identity of who you think you are. I think it kind of relates to the first point, but listen up. Our parents say certain things about us. They say, you're this type of person and you're this type of person. And anytime you try to move out that box, right? Anytime you try to move further where it's like, oh, I'm going to try to pursue this, or I'm going to try to do this thing, I'm going to try to do business, I'm going to try to do YouTube, I'm going to try to be a footballer. Anytime you try and move out of this little box that they have of you, out of this little perception that they have of you as well, anytime you move out, they'll grab you and they'll pull you back in there. They'll be like, no, I like you here, I like you in this box, you're having a thing right now, and that's okay, but just stay here, this is where we like you to be. Your friends will do this, your family will do this, everyone that you know around you who is comfortable around you will do this. The reason for this is that humans don't like change. We don't like seeing something be different in our normal string of things. There could be a lot of reasons for that. It could be if you change and start achieving the right things, you make other people jealous. You make them realize that they didn't achieve the things that they wanted to achieve and they conformed to society's expectations. And then they get annoyed by that. But it could also be that they don't know anyone who's changed. Very little people do change. So it's hard to recognize, okay, this person's growing. He's becoming a better person. So it's hard for them to realize the stimulus, okay, he's becoming a better person. But we always see it as negative because it's change. You see, I find it incredibly odd. It's the fact that we don't love the people who conformed to our expectations. We love the people who were themselves the most. So when someone dies, you won't see people saying, oh, he was such a great guy and he conformed to our expectations. He was such a great guy, but he was so predictable. This was something that I heard on a Chris Williamson podcast, and it's really stuck with me. Because if you're trying to stay in people's expectations, you're no different to the next person. We love the people who are truly themselves. We don't love the people who fit into this box just to please the other person. Because there's no substance to you if you do that. No matter what it is that your parents push onto you, that you're this type of person, what your friends say and they push onto you, that you're this type of person, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your mum thinks, what your dad thinks you should be, or your friends expect you to be. It matters who you expect you to be. That's the way the basis comes from. That's the important part of all of this. So it's where you expect you to go and who you expect you to be. That's how you create that identity. Now, the third part of change, I don't think it's talked about enough. It's environmental change. This is something practical that you can do. So here's your practical advice for the video, other than the two mental things I've said. This is what you can do if you genuinely want to kickstart a change. This is environmental change. Changing genuinely anything in your area. So obviously, like for me and some other people watching this video, we can't just like switch around to a bunch of areas. But if you can, then obviously switch around to different rooms in your house, or switch around to different places to work, and for different seasons of work. So if you want to work on a certain thing, I'm switching to this area. If I want to work on this thing, I'm switching to this area. That's how you can start environmental change and start like, okay, this is the person I am when I'm in this area. The other type of things that you can do is simply just moving stuff around your room, emptying a desk, cleaning your room up. You see, this example I have of this is that when I wanted to stop jacking off before I went to bed, so I had the problem where I thought I couldn't sleep properly if I didn't jack off before I went to bed. So I was that addicted. So the way that I decided to stop it, well, obviously I went cold turkey for a while, but then I did some other things to help alongside of that. I would sleep on the other side of my bed. So instead of having my head, so obviously on the crown of the bed, I would sleep the other way. So I changed my entire position of my bed, and then changed how I slept. To have a new environmental change, to be like, when I'm in this position, I don't jack off. I'm not the person to jack off when I'm in this position. It could be as simple as literally moving to the other side of the bed, and then creating the identity of yourself. And those little things can really cause a major difference to how you try to stop your bad habits, how you try to change. That can be really important, and I don't think it's talked about enough. So simply moving some things about, sleeping in a different room, all these little things can help you cut off the bad habits first of all, and also change yourself into the person that you want to be. So those three things, you apply all those things perfectly, you can change yourself and make the world a much better place around you. And I think it's not only that you have to change yourself to become better for you, it's more that you have a moral obligation to do better. You have a moral obligation to change yourself and improve yourself. Because if you don't do that, you make the world a much worse place than it would have been if you had changed yourself. So think about that. It's your moral obligation to change yourself. Thank you for listening to me. Hope you enjoyed that. Apply that shit, man. Go get it.